everyone, welcome back to the Pharmacy India. So, in this session, we are going to discuss top 25 MCQs questions of human anatomy and physiology, which will be very important for your upcoming pharmacist exam. This is your mock paper 7. We have already discussed most important 25 MCQs questions of human anatomy and physiology in mock paper 3 also. So let's get started. Before starting to the questions, make sure to download Pharmacy India mobile app from the Google Play Store to get latest pharmacist updates. And you can also join Pharmacy India's other social platforms like WhatsApp and Telegram to get latest pharmacist updates regarding jobs or syllabus. So let's get started with our first question. Question is, which type of bone cell is responsible for bone formation? The question is asking about the type of bone cell which is responsible for the formation of bone. Your options are osteocytes, osteoblast, osteoclast, or osteoprogenitor cells. So the correct option will be osteoblast, which is responsible for the formation of bone cells. Formation of bone cells. Now, many of you think about osteoblast and osteoclast. Basically, osteocytes are bone cells, bone cells. So let's get a difference between osteoblast and osteoclast. If we talk about osteoblast, they play a vital role in bone development. Correct. Or osteocyte play a vital role in bone maintenance. Means osteoblasts are the bone cells which are responsible for development of bones, and they are responsible for the maintenance of bone. So there is a major difference between these two. They are formed from osteoprogenitor stem cells, and they are mature cells formed from osteoblast itself. Then they are found on the bone's outer surface like this, osteoblast. And if we talk about osteocytes, they are found in bones lacunae. Lacunae is a major middle space found inside the bone. Then they are the mononucleate cuboidal cells with no projections, like they do not have any type of projections on their surfaces. And osteocytes are star-shaped with a characteristic dendritic process. So these are the differences between osteoblast and osteoclast. Next question is, the atlas is the first cervical vertebrae and is responsible for. So all of you know about the atlas, which is the first cervical vertebrae. First cervical vertebrae, and axis is second cervical vertebrae. Now the question is asking about the function of atlas. Options are supporting the weight of the head, allowing nodding movement of the head, facilitating rotation of the head, or supporting the weight of the body. So basically, it is very clear that supporting the weight of the head is not the function of the atlas. The correct option that should be correct, allowing nodding movement of the head. Atlas, which is the first cervical vertebrae, they allow nodding movement of the head, means like this or this. Correct. Next option, facilitating rotation of the head. This is the function of joints. And supporting the weight of the body, this is the function of whole vertebral column. So the correct option will be allowing nodding movement of the head. Next question, the innermost layer of cell inside your eye is called the. Now, the innermost layer of cell which is found inside the eye. Correct. Mucous membrane, conjunctiva, retina, or choroid. If we talk about mucous membrane, conjunctiva, or choroid, they are not the innermost layers. They are not found inside the eye. See, conjunctiva is present outside the eye, and mucous membrane is also the outermost layer of the eye. Choroid is an area. Clear? So the correct option will be retina, which is the innermost layer of eye, and also responsible for the image formation. Also responsible 4. The image formation. Image formation. Clear? So the correct option will be retina. Alright, next question. A neuron that carries information from the peripheral nervous system to the central nervous system. Now you have to tell a neuron that carries information from the PNS to CNS means your outer stimulus which reaches your brain, that is with the help of which type of neuron? Afferent, efferent, both or none. You all know afferent neuron is also known as sensory neuron, and efferent neuron is also known as motor neuron. Now read the question carefully. You have to transfer messages from PNS to CNS. PNS means body tissue or receptor, receptors to CNS, that is your brain or spinal cord. Brain or spinal cord. So this is the function of afferent neuron, means sensory neuron. They sense every single type of stimuli and then transfer it to brain or spinal cord to react. Alright. See, next question. Which one of the following organelle digest the old organelles that are no longer useful to the cells? Your options are ribosomes, mitochondria, lysosomes, or chromatin. So, from the following options, from the following cell organelle, you have to choose that cell organelle which is responsible for the degradation of dead and decay materials which is present in a cell. Dead and decay materials that are no longer useful to the cells. So the correct option will be lysosome, which is also known as suicidal bag of the cell. The reason is lysosome contains many types of hydrolytic enzymes which digest cellulose, carbohydrate, lipids, proteins, etc. Contains many types of hydrolytic enzymes that digest carbohydrate, lipids, proteins, nucleic acid, etc. So the correct option will be lysosome, also known as suicidal bag of a cell. Suicidal bag of a cell. Correct. Next question. Which of the following substance that aids in the transmission of nerve impulse to the muscle? Your options are acetylcholine, deoxyribose, ribose, or oxytocin. So from the following options, you have to choose that correct option which is responsible for the transmission of nerve impulses to the muscles. So basically, this is the function of neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitter. And what is neurotransmitter? A chemical messenger. Chemical messenger. Which transports every single information, every single electrical or chemical impulses from a part of your body to the other. So acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter because deoxyribose and ribose are sugars, and oxytocin is a hormone. Sugars of nucleic acid. Correct. So the correct option will be acetylcholine, which is an important neurotransmitter and is responsible for the transmission of nerve impulses to the muscles. Either it is cardiac or skeletal or smooth. Next question. Which of the following is a common symptom of GERD, means gastroesophageal reflux disease? So basically, GERD means gastroesophageal reflux disease. This is a disease of gastroesophageal sphincter. In general, you can also say it acidity. Okay, diarrhea, abdominal pain, heartburn, or constipation. So from the following options, the correct option will be heartburn. which is a common symptom of GERD, means gastroesophageal reflux disease. Basically, the main cause of GERD is improper movement. Improper movement movement of gastroesophageal sphincter, which is also known as cardiac sphincter. Clear? It is present on the door of stomach, you can say. Next question is, the term arteriosclerosis refers to. Now, what is arteriosclerosis? Artero means arteries. Artero means arteries. And sclerosis means blockage. Blockage. Clear? So the options are narrowing of the heart wall, correct, wrong option. Then hardening and narrowing of the arteries. This will be your correct option, because in arteriosclerosis, low density lipoproteins, that is bad cholesterol, gets accumulated on the inner wall or outer wall of the arteries. This is bad cholesterol. Bad cholesterol, which is also known as LDL, means low density lipoprotein. Lipoprotein. And due to which the flow of blood gets blocked. Okay, next question is, what is the primary purpose of venous valve? Now, you have to tell the venous valve function: to increase blood pressure, to prevent backflow of blood, to facilitate gas exchange, or to increase blood flow velocity. Now, what are the venous valve? These are like the windows or doors which is present between walls. This is vein. And for example, this is wall. So the main function of each and every valve which is present in cardiovascular system is to prevent backflow of blood. Either it is present in your heart or in blood vessel. Clear? So the correct option will be to prevent backflow of the blood, because the flow of blood in your cardiovascular system should be unidirectional. Unidirectional. Clear? Next question. Which of the following condition is characterized by the presence of high level of cholesterol in the blood? So, if there is an increment in the cholesterol in your blood, what condition is that? Hypertension, hyperlipidemia, arrhythmia, and ischemia. If you know about cholesterol, it is a type of lipid. It is a type of lipid. So basically, if there is an increment in the lipid in your blood, that condition is known as hyperlipidemia, because hyper means high level of lipid. This is lipid. And cholesterol is ultimately lipid. Okay, so next question is, what structural feature distinguishes arteries from veins? Now you have to tell what is the major difference between arteries and veins. Presence of valve, thicker muscular valve, larger lumen, or absence of connective tissue. Now you have to tell the answer in respect of arteries, not in the veins. So basically, presence of valve. This is a characteristic feature of veins. Clear? So this will be wrong. Thicker muscular wall. This will be correct option, because the walls of arteries are quite thick than veins. Thicker muscular wall. Thicker muscular wall. Okay, so the correct option will be second, thicker muscular wall. Because larger lumen, it is also a characteristic feature of veins, because they have thin muscular wall, and large lumen. Lumen is that hollow space where blood flows. Next, absence of connective tissue. It is also a feature of vein, not arteries. Correct. So the correct option will be second, thicker muscular wall. Next question is, in which part of the heart does the blood receive oxygen from the lungs? Means, which part of the heart or which auricle of the heart? Because you all know auricles are also known as blood receiving chambers, and ventricles are also known as blood pumping chambers. Auricles are blood receiving chambers. Receiving chambers. And ventricles are blood pumping chambers. Blood pumping chambers. Chambers. So, left auricle, right ventricle, or left ventricle. Right ventricle and left ventricle, they cannot be the answer because ventricles are blood pumping chambers. And in the questions, the question is asking about the blood receiving part. So the correct option will be left auricle, which receives oxygenated blood from the lungs with the help of your pulmonary veins. Pulmonary veins. Oxygenated blood to the left auricle. So this is the blood flow of oxygenated blood from the lungs to your left auricle. And from the left auricle, it reaches left ventricle, and from the left ventricle with the help of aorta, it circulates to your whole body. Next question, which blood vessel is known for its thin wall that allow for exchange of gases and nutrients? Now, from the given blood vessels, you have to tell that answer which is correct for the allow of exchange of gases and nutrients between blood and body tissues, arteries, veins, capillaries, and aorta. So basically, arteries and veins are not responsible for the exchange part. Clear? Correct option will be capillaries because aorta is largest artery, which is responsible for circulating oxygenated blood to your whole body. So the correct option will be capillaries. See, this is alveoli, and this is capillary. It contains deoxygenated blood, means it contains CO2, and alveoli contains O2. The exchange takes place with the help of these capillaries. Next question is, what is the main effect of beta blockers in cardiovascular treatment? Now, this is a very important and very nice question. Beta blockers in cardiovascular treatment. Your options are increases heart rate, decrease heart rate or myocardial contractility, increases blood pressure or decrease peripheral resistance. So, beta blockers work in decreasing heart rate and also myocardial contractility, ultimately decreasing your heartbeat. Clear? So the correct option will be second, decreasing heart rate and myocardial contractility. Alright, next question. Which organ is primarily responsible for the absorption of nutrients like carbohydrate, proteins, and lipid? Stomach, liver, small intestine, and large intestine. So if we talk about stomach is responsible for the digestion and retention of food for about 4 to 5 hours. Retention of food for about 4 to 5 hours. Liver is responsible for the formation of bile, juice, and certain enzymes. There is no nutrient absorption takes place in liver. So the correct option will be small intestine, where the most absorption or reabsorption of nutrients takes place, like carbohydrate, lipids, fats, etc. Correct option will be small intestine, and large intestine is responsible for the absorption of water and formation of feces. Clear? So the correct option will be small intestine. Next question. Which type of blood vessel carries oxygenated blood away from the heart? So these type of questions are very important, in which mainly circulation of blood is asking. So let's draw a flow chart of blood circulation. Basically, this is your heart. This is left auricle, left ventricle, right auricle, and right ventricle. Lungs, and then body tissues. Body tissues. So, as you all know, left auricle, receiving chamber. right auricle receiving chamber, right ventricle and left ventricle are blood pumping chambers. So basically from lungs oxygenated blood enters in left auricle, and from the left auricle it enters in left ventricle. From the left ventricle, with the help of aorta, it circulates from the whole body tissues. Aorta. Clear. So the correct option will be arteries, because aorta is the largest artery. Clear. Then from the body tissues, deoxygenated blood transported to right auricle. And from the right auricle, it enters right ventricle, and from right ventricle, it transported to lungs with the help of pulmonary artery, so that it can convert it into oxygenated blood, and then this flowchart continues. Okay, so the correct option will be arteries. Next question, which of the following is not a characteristic of cartilaginous joint? Limited movement, presence of synovial cavity joined by cartilage, or examples include the intervertebral disc. The question is asking about not a characteristic of cartilaginous tissue. Cartilaginous tissue are a type of joint which allow only limited movement. Limited movement. They are present between the vertebrae, है ना? Clear? So the correct option will be second, because last is examples include the intervertebral disc. This is the correct option. Joined by cartilage. This is also correct. And limited movement. This is also correct. But presence of synovial cavity. It is a characteristic feature of synovial joint. Synovial joint. This is not a characteristic feature of cartilaginous joint. Next question, which type of joint is characterized by a fluid-filled cavity and allow for a widest range of motion? Oh, question repeated. Fibrous, cartilaginous, synovial or fixed? Fixed is also known as fibrous. Fibrous. So fibrous and fibrous will be wrong, and cartilaginous joint only allow limited movement. Limited movement. The question is asking for a wide range of motion, that is your synovial joint, which contains a synovial cavity filled with synovial fluid. Synovial fluid. Due to which it allows widest range of motion, and also it is of 6 types. 6 types. The first is ball and socket joint. Ball and socket joint. Next is saddle. Then gliding. Hinge. Pivot. Ellipsoid. Let's move on to our next question. Which joint connects the ribs to the sternum? Now you have to tell the joint which is present between the ribs and sternum. So basically, sternum is also known as the breastbone or chest bone. Chest bone. And ribs are connected ventrally with this sternum. Synovial fluid, cartilaginous fluid, hinge joint or pivot joint. The correct option that will be cartilaginous joint, which allow only limited movement and is present between ribs and cartilage. Okay. Next question, which of the following joint is an example of a hinge joint? Now, the example of hinge joint is shoulder, hip, elbow or wrist. Basically, shoulder and hip joint. They allow the widest range of motion, and these are the examples of ball and socket joint. Ball and socket joint. And if we talk about hinge, this is a type of synovial joint which allow the movement in only 2 directions, like elbow. Clear? You only can do flexion, extension, extension, flexion, extension, flexion. So elbow will be the correct option. Elbow will be the example of hinge joint, which is a type of synovial joint. Next question, which of the following is a risk factor for the development of emphysema? emphysema or emphysema, excessive salt intake, smoking, high fiber diet, or lack of physical exercise. Basically, these all are the causes of emphysema. But in question, it is asking about the major risk factor which is responsible for causing emphysema. Emphysema is a type of respiratory disorder in which the contractility of your lungs loses. Excessive salt intake. This will be wrong answer. Smoking is the major cause of emphysema. Smoking is the major cause of emphysema, which contains tobacco, and it affects the elasticity of your lungs. Correct? So the correct option will be smoking. Next question, which of the following is a common symptom of COPD, that is a chronic obstructive pulmonary disease? Again, this is a type of respiratory disease. Your options are hemoptysis, then wheezing and shortness of breath, cyanosis only, or fever and chills. Basically, cyanosis and fever and chills are not the symptoms of COPD. The correct option will be wheezing and shortness of breathing. Basically, if any person who is suffering from COPD, that is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, produces wheezing sound when breathes and also shortness of breathing. Next question is, which part of the respiratory system is responsible for the exchange of gases? Nasal cavity, trachea, alveoli, and larynx. So basically, larynx will be wrong because larynx is voice box, which is mainly responsible for producing sound. Now, nasal cavity functions as nasal pathway for O2 and CO2. Clear? Next is trachea. Trachea is windpipe. And alveoli. These are the balloon-like structures which are present at the terminal ends of tertiary bronchioles. Like this. These are the alveoli, and they mainly responsible for the exchange of gases like O2 and CO2. So the correct option will be alveoli. These are the balloon-like structure or bag-like structures, clear, which are mainly responsible for the exchange of gases. Next, second last question. The hyoid bone is a unique bone in the axial skeleton because hyoid bone, which is a part of axial skeletal system and also very important bone, U-shaped bone. This is the only bone in human body which does not articulate with any other bone, and it is also known as an independent bone. Clear. Articulates with the vertebral column, wrong. Protects the heart, wrong, because it is present in this area. Next, anchors the tongue. This will be correct option because hyoid bone is also known as tongue bone. Clear. Next, forms part of the pelvic girdle, wrong. So the correct option will be third, anchors the tongue. Anchors means support. Last question, maximum amount of oxygen is exchanged from blood in arteries of the body, capillaries surrounding the alveoli, left auricle of the heart, right auricle of the heart. So this will be wrong. If we talk about second, capillaries surrounding the alveoli, this will be your correct option because mostly amount of oxygen is exchanged from blood in capillaries. Capillaries are blood vessel which are mainly responsible for the exchange of gases between body tissues and blood. Clear? So the correct option will be capillaries surrounding the alveoli. So basically, these are the most important 25 MCQs questions of human anatomy and physiology, which are very important for your upcoming pharmacist exam. And you can also join the Telegram channel of Pharmacy India to get the PDF of this whole session. See you in the next video. Till then, stay tuned with Pharmacy India. Thank you.